Cat Striking Back, a Joe Gray Mystery, by Shirley Rousseau Murphy, narrated by Susan Boyce. It was this unfathomable longing of the soul to vex itself, to offer violence to its own nature, to do wrong for the wrong's sake only, that urged me to consummate the injury I had inflicted upon the unoffending brute. My wonder and my terror were extreme. I could not rid myself of the phantasm of the cat. I am not more sure that my soul lives than I am that perverseness is one of the primitive impulses of the human heart, which give direction to the character of man. Edgar Allan Poe, The Black Cat. Chapter 1. The setting moon laid its path across the sea, brightening the white sand and the little village, picking out the angles of its crowded roofs and glancing off the windows of the shops and cottages. Moonglow caressed the shaggy pines and cypress trees and pooled dark shadows beneath them along the narrow streets. The only sound, at this pre-dawn hour, was the hush of waves breaking on the shore. But inland, all was silent. Where the hills rose round and empty, the moon's path washed in bright curves. Between the moonlit hills, the narrow valleys were cast in blackness, so dense that the tomcat had to make his way by sound and by whisker feel, by familiar smells, by the degree of the slope and the feel of the earth beneath his paws. Rocky or soft, or bristling with dry grass, or smooth where sand had blown across the narrow game trail, each encounter marking more clearly his exact location in relation to home. The tomcat traveled alone, encumbered by his heavy burden. Padding down toward the first scattered houses, he walked clumsily, not his usual bold gait, but spraddle-legged and awkward, stepping wide around the half-dozen mice that dangled against his chest, their tails gripped tight in his sharp teeth. He was a big cat, muscled and sleek-coated, as silver-gray as burnished pewter. A narrow white strip ran down his nose, and his belly and paws were white, too. One paw spattered now with mouth's blood. His tail was docked to a short, jaunty length, the product of a kittenhood disaster. His yellow eyes gleamed with the look of a fighter. But his eyes were alight, too, with a smile. He turned once to look back up the hills behind him, watching his tabby lady, Dulcie, and their younger tortoise-shell friend, Kit, move away, trotting higher up across the open land. He had only just parted from his two companions, the lady cats not satisfied only with hunting, but hurrying off to follow their overly curious noses. Typical females, he thought tenderly. Take care, Joe Gray thought, watching the two cats move swiftly away up the moon-washed hills. They looked very small and alone, careening close to the scattered boulders where they could find hurried shelter. He could hear, as could they, the yipping of coyotes far away up the higher slopes, though this yipping of adults and the answering yaps of their cubs meant surely that the group of larger predators was all together, preoccupied with their offspring and not wandering far afield to sniff out unsuspecting felines. But still, Joe thought again, watch your backs, you two. And nervously he turned away, dragging his clutch of mice, hurrying down past the wooden frame that was the beginning of a new house, then past a remodel where the front garden was piled with raw earth waiting for the construction crew. He could smell, over the musty miasma of dangling mice, the fresh scent of raccoons on the trail, and of possums and coastal deer, wild creatures who had made their way down from the hills in darkness to hunt or graze, or to slip in among the houses to quench their thirst at a fish pond or a leaky garden hose. As he descended, the houses began to crowd closer together. Far below him, the setting moon began to dip into the sea. Soon the last thin slice of